A single $500 million investment is sending massive shockwaves through the race for self-driving cars. It's a huge bet from one of the biggest giants in tech, and honestly, it could completely change how our cars see and navigate the world around us. But, to really get the scale of this bet, we've got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This year alone, the global investment in autonomous vehicles is expected to hit $54 billion. That is a mountain of cash, all chasing the dream of a self-driving future. So, with all that money flying around in this super high-stakes race, you have to ask, where is it all actually going? And maybe more importantly, what are the smartest investors betting on to win? Make no mistake, what we're seeing right now is nothing short of a self-driving gold rush. It's this incredible period of intense innovation, gigantic investments, and just absolutely fierce competition. And that arena is getting seriously crowded. I mean, you've got the huge established giants like Waymo and Tesla who've been at this for years, pushing the limits of what's possible. Now it feels like everyone is fighting for their piece of this revolutionary market. Right in the middle of all that frenzy, one of the biggest names in computing is placing a massive, and I mean massive, bet. So let's talk about NVIDIA's $500 million move. Okay, so here's the headline. The chip-making titan, NVIDIA, is pouring $500 million into a London-based AI startup called Wayve. And this isn't just pocket change. This investment is part of Wayve's much larger $1 billion funding round, which makes this a really big deal in the industry. So who is this company Wayve? Well, they're an AI startup, but they have this fascinatingly different approach. See, instead of relying on those super detailed, pre-built 3D maps, they're teaching cars to drive using machine learning and cameras, kind of like how you and I learn to drive. And this investment makes total sense when you look at NVIDIA's broader strategy. They already work with automotive titans like Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, and Rivian. So by adding Wayve to the mix, they're building this powerful ecosystem that combines their amazing hardware with some truly cutting-edge driving software. And this really gets us to the heart of the story, because Wayve's technology, it represents a fundamentally different way of thinking about how a car should drive itself. All right, check this out. On one hand, you have the traditional method. It relies on these pre-built 3D maps, which makes the car kind of rigid, almost like a train on a track. That's super expensive and really slow if you want to expand to a new city. But Wayve's AI, it uses cameras and deep learning to just see and navigate. It's built to learn and adapt, just like a person, which could make it way easier to scale to brand new roads it's never seen before. So you're probably wondering, how do they actually pull this off? Well, this is where that partnership becomes so incredibly powerful. Wayve trains its super complex AI brain on NVIDIA's own DGX supercomputing systems. We're talking about some of the most powerful AI hardware on the entire planet. And get this, before these cars even touch a real road, they're tested like crazy inside NVIDIA's Omniverse. You can think of it as a hyper-realistic virtual world, a simulation where they can throw countless, difficult, tricky driving scenarios at the AI, all in a totally safe environment. It lets them fine-tune the system at a speed that would just be impossible in the real world. Okay, so clearly the partnership is a powerhouse on a technical level. But what about the money? What does a deal like this actually mean for a startup's bottom line? Well, the numbers here tell a really powerful story. According to data from S&P Global, AV startups that have a strategic partner, like Wayve now has with NVIDIA, they raise an average of $49 million. And those without a big partner? Just $28 million. That is a massive difference. So here's the real takeaway. NVIDIA's backing is about so much more than just the cash. It's a huge stamp of approval. It's market validation. It basically sends a signal to all the other investors that this technology is legit. And that de-risks the whole venture for everyone else looking to jump in. And hey, it's not just us saying this. Industry leaders are definitely taking notice. Kristian Boomen, the CEO of Roxas, pointed out that in the super competitive robotaxi space, this investment could give Wayve a major leg up, putting them in a really favorable position as the market evolves. But let's be real, the road to a self-driving future is never quite that simple. For all the excitement and optimism, experts are also pointing to some pretty significant hurdles that are still in the way. There are basically three major roadblocks to think about. First, the regulatory landscape is still super unpredictable. Then, the entire industry is still dealing with supply chain disruptions. And, on top of all that, You've just got general economic uncertainty, which can put the brakes on even the most promising projects. So, with this huge investment on the table and these challenges on the horizon, what happens next? What does all this actually mean for the future of how we get around? I think you've got to see this partnership not as the finish line, but as a catalyst. It's an accelerator. It's speeding up the entire industry's shift away from those rigid, map-based systems and pushing it towards a future of smarter, more adaptable, AI-driven mobility. And looking ahead, a massive factor is going to be government policy. The path forward for all autonomous vehicles is going to be shaped by the regulatory environment. For instance, if some regulations are eased up, it could open the floodgates for testing and just dramatically speed up development. Which really brings us to the ultimate question at the very heart of this $500 million bet. Is an AI that learns to drive just like a human, with all of our adaptability and nuance, is that truly the key that will finally unlock our self-driving future? Well, NVIDIA and Wayve are betting everything that the answer is yes.